Remote Australia is home to a complex and intricate tapestry of people, animals and plant life. Many of the native flora and fauna have thrived in some of the most challenging climatic conditions on the planet. One particularly introduced species, the camel, has also found conditions to their liking. The history of the camel in Australia began in the 19th century, when thousands were imported for assistance with transport and construction in the remotest parts of the country. However, with the advent of motorised transport in the 1920s, most were set free. The feral camel became a significant pest that was mobile over more than 3 million square kilometres in the arid and semi-arid landscapes of remote Australia. The climate of remote Australia is also problematic when considering the scope of the issue. During good years, the camel population gradually builds up, and then in drought they are forced to be reckoned with when they can congregate in large numbers in the search for water.
What's going to happen as it dries out, and it eventually will, we'll just have, I call it Dante's ecological inferno, and I've seen it firsthand that in point places like this the impacts are profound, but these places are so remote from cities and they're such small places that it's really hard to get that message out.
All the vegetables and all the things, all the environment, all that then is getting wrecked, and rock holes, and like the people are having research on them now, Camel is destroying. It's a significant site in our culture. We are protecting our land and the rock holes and Mother Nature, I like to say that.
The impact that they're having on native animals and so forth is massive. And it must be affecting smaller animals as well. But also the bush tucker and their bush medicines and so forth, and the foliar that's out there, the damage that they're doing to that. We've talked to station owners down further towards Wiluna, who's in a lot of mulga country. And the mulgas are great trees that have been there for thousands of years. And they're just breaking down huge areas of those and just breaking them up.
I think there are probably three different aspects of the impact of camels. First is the impact on the environment. Second problem is the damage they're doing in remote communities. At Wartawagine in 2007, the administrator out there estimated that over a 3-month period they caused over $100,000 worth of damage to community infrastructure. The third issue is the impact on pastoralists.
So we run a cattle business. Fences are there for a reason, and they just take the fences out. They just take them away. It's not as though they just knock them over and you can stand them back up. They just rip all the fences out.
Well, just to replace it, you're looking at between $2,500 to $3,000 a kilometre. That's just for material, not for labour, and that labour doesn't include going out and rolling up and getting rid of the old stuff.
It's not just 2 kilometres of fences. When the camels went through in early 2007, we lost 140 kilometres of fences.
From an environmental perspective, camels have an enormous impact on arid wetlands. They're able to deplete the water in some of these remote wetlands, which are, some of them are merely small rock holes. Once that water's gone, it's not there for native wildlife. Camels also damage vegetation, and camels do have the ability to actually drive some tree species like the quandong to local extinction. And on top of that, camels are also now impacting on things like road accidents.
Wartawagine community a couple of years ago, they had mobs of up to 100 camels rampaging through the community. Overnight the camels had broken their main water pipeline, and the water, I guess an area of 100 metres square was covered in 20 or 30 camels were wallowing through this water, and the Aboriginal kids were playing in the water as well. Camels had urinated in it overnight, and the whole area was just absolutely putrid.
Everything about this project is big. The areas are large and remote. Accessing the places where the feral camels are is logistically challenging, so the solution has to involve all of the stakeholders with a role in management. Lyndee 1 is a national not-for-profit company that aims to build opportunities for people living in remote Australia through research, innovation and community development. It is the management company for a number of projects, including the Australian Feral Camel Management Project. It managed the Desert Knowledge Cooperative Research Centre, which conducted research on feral camels in Australia from 2005 to 2008, resulting in a series of groundbreaking reports about camel impacts and management options. Lyndee 1 then applied to the Australian Government for funds to implement a management strategy based on the research results. This application was contracted in early 2010 and became the Australian Feral Camel Management Project, with a Lyndee 1-led partnership of 20 organisations. The partners of the project have been involved in all stages of planning and implementation. Together, they formed the National Steering Group that regularly met to guide the project.
We believe with the strength of the partnerships that we've managed to create, because we did the initial research into camels in the first place, and that built the partnerships and the relationships. And so we believe with those relationships in place, we can do it.
The project's objectives were to reduce feral camel impacts at 18 nominated sites that are important to the biodiversity of the area and to reduce the impact on vegetation and therefore soils in pastoral areas. The project has also improved our knowledge of the feral camel population and built the capacity of landholders to manage feral camels into the future.
Certainly there's been good support across government, but also across industry and across the landholder base in terms of wanting to work together to address the camel issue, because given the size of the area that camels occur over and how mobile the animals are, we really do need to all be working together on it.
Management methods that were used under the project included ground culling for pet meat, mustering for meat processing and aerial culling.
We're comfortable with the fact that something has to be done. With any kind of introduced animal that is having a significant impact, particularly on the environment in Australia, if you're able to determine what those impacts are and address them, then that's a valid reason for controlling a particular population.
We don't like shooting to waste. We prefer if there was some other options, but the logistics are such that you can't get big vehicles up here, you can't get infrastructure. We don't have the right type of infrastructure in the right areas to be able to do any mustering. There can be, and there should be, and there will be a meat industry based around the camel. But the reality is that it will need to be based around a domesticated product.
The camel can play a huge role in primary industries and Indigenous communities for employment in Australia. Camel meat is quite new to a lot of people in Australia, but on the world stage, no, it's not. It's been used and consumed for thousands of years.
Around 50 satellite collars on feral camels and aerial surveys have informed current and future management activities. Remote motion-activated cameras captured the damage that feral camels were causing at waterhole and vegetation sites. In addition, the project undertook a significant monitoring and evaluation program to measure and report on biodiversity, cultural and pastoral industry outcomes. Over 160,000 camels have been removed and density targets at nominated sites have been achieved. It is estimated that the current national feral camel population is around 300,000, and there is a real opportunity to maintain low densities into the future in the Simpson Desert and Pilbara regions in particular. This project has enhanced cross-jurisdictional collaboration across the states and territories of Australia, and consents are in place for ongoing management from the many landholders and traditional owners of remote Australia. Another major outcome has been the training and employment of over 500 Aboriginal people in environmental monitoring and feral camel management. The Australian Feral Camel Management Project has shown that landscape-scale management of large feral animals can be highly effective in reducing their densities and impacts. Future management of feral camels and other large feral herbivores will be more effective and efficient as a result of this project.